Personnel security policies and procedures. The biggest security threats are inside your company. Personnel are responsible for major security issues in an organization. Organization implement the appropriate personnel security policies and procedure. Personnel security policies and procedures are candidate screening and hiring, employment agreements and policies, onboarding and termination processes, vendor, consultant, and contractor agreements and controls, compliance policy requirements, privacy policy requirements, and job rotation and separation of duties, candidate screening and hiring. Personnel screening should performed before offer of employment. Personnel screening are criminal history, work history, background investigations, credit history, driving records, substance abuse testing, reference checks, education and licensing verification, social security number verification and validation, and check for a suspected terrorist watch list. Job descriptions should contain the roles and responsibilities and experience or education. Employers can request criminal records for most potential employees for the past 7 years. Work history should be verified. Former employers should be contacted to confirm dates employed, positions, performance, and reason for leaving. Background investigation should research any claim made on the applicant's application or resume. Credit history ensures that personnel who are involved in financial transactions for the organization will not be risks for financial fraud. Driving records are necessary if the applicant will be operating a motor vehicle as part of his or her job. But often this type of check for other applicants can help reveal lifestyle issues, such as driving under the influence or license suspension, that can cause employment problems later. Substance abuse. Testing will reveal to the employer any drug use. 2 types of reference checks are performed, work and personal. Work reference checks verify employment history. Personal reference checks contact individuals supplied by the applicant and ask questions regarding the applicant's capabilities, skills, and personality. Education and licensing verification. Employers can request transcripts from educational institutions. Licensing or certification body can verify the license or certification. Social Security number verification and validation can be achieved by contacting the Social Security Administration. Such a check ensures that the Social Security information is accurate. Organization should determine candidate screening and hiring needs based on the organization's needs. Employment agreements and policies. Employment agreements and policies are confidentiality agreement, non-disclosure agreement, NDA, and acceptable use policy, AUP. Personnel hiring procedures should start signing confidentiality agreement documents. Non-disclosure agreement NDA is to protect data from unauthorized disclosure. NDAs are generally used to establish data ownership, protect information from disclosure, prevent forfeiture of patent rights, and define handling standards including disposal. An acceptable use policy AUP details appropriate use of information systems, handling standards, monitoring, and privacy expectations. By signing the agreement, the user acknowledges, understands, and agrees to the stated rules and obligations. Organizations have an employee handbook and hiring information that must be communicated to the employee. Code of conduct, conflict of interest, and ethics agreements should also be signed at this time. Employee onboarding and offboarding policies. Onboarding is the process of integrating a new employee with a company and culture, as well as providing the tools and information. User orientation and user provisioning is part of onboarding. User orientation is the initial task of completing paperwork, introductions, and initial training. User provisioning is the process of creating user accounts and credentials, assigning access rights and permissions, and providing assets. Each department should have documented procedures related to user onboarding. Offboarding is the process for transitioning employees out of an organization and is also referred to as termination. Offboarding are documenting separation details, tasks and responsibilities prior to departure, knowledge transfer, exit interview. Termination must be handled differently based on whether the termination is friendly or unfriendly. Personnel termination procedures. Ensure that the organizational property is returned, user access is removed at the appropriate time, and exit interviews are completed. Unfriendly terminations. Organizational procedures must be proactive to prevent damage to organizational assets. The security department should be notified early in the process of an unfriendly termination. Vendor, consultant, and contractor agreements and controls. A vendor contributes goods or services. A consultant is a professional who provides expert advice in a particular area such as security, electronic or physical management, education, accountancy, law, human resources, marketing and public relations, finance, engineering. A contractor is a person or company that performs work on a contract basis. Organizations often work with vendors, consultants, and contractors. Third party that is given access to an organization's facility should be given limited access to the facility and other organizational assets. An organization should implement appropriate controls to ensure that these third parties do not cause security issues. Compliance policy requirements. Management must also ensure that appropriate compliance are in place during employment. Privacy policy requirements. Personnel expect a certain amount of privacy even in their workplace. Companies should implement a no expectation of privacy policy that details what areas personnel should consider as not being private, including company email, internet access, and access to high security areas. Closed circuit televisions, CCTVs, and other video recording equipment are becoming commonplace in the workplace. It is considered acceptable to conduct video monitoring of parking areas, work areas, and high security areas. Using video monitoring in bathrooms, locker rooms, or other areas is never a good idea. Security professionals should ensure that personnel are regularly reminded of the no expectation of privacy policy of the organization is accomplished using screen banners. Job rotation. Job rotation ensures that more than one person fulfills the job tasks of a single position within an organization. This job rotation ensures that more than one person is capable of performing those tasks, providing redundancy. Separation of duties. Separation of duties ensures that one person is not capable of compromising organizational security. Split knowledge, a variation of separation of duties, ensures that no single employee knows all the details to perform a task. An example is two managers being required to turn keys simultaneously in separate locations to launch a missile. Information security professionals should work with human resources personnel to ensure that the appropriate personnel security policies and procedures are in place.